Hey, having some computer issues. Uh-oh. Let's see, we're gonna be working on this painting again here in a few moments. But first, I got to figure out some computer issues. So interesting coming back to a painting after stopping for a few days because you feel it almost feels like it's like a totally new painting. Got to pull up my reference, get those references ready. And I want to make this live stream titled, "This is your sign to go make something. Don't watch this video. Go make artwork. Skip this video altogether. Go forth and prosper." Here we go. Okay. So we're going to throw on our gloves, our handy dandy gloves. Let's see, what can we work on as far as details go? Oh yeah, we gotta unpack our supplies. I was out painting the other day and still haven't unpacked my supplies. Didn't do a live stream about it, but it's about that time to get back home and start working on this. Give it a couple days and it should be mostly dry by now. Couple of days of drying time. Now we'll get back to it. To it. That's one good thing about oils though. Because they can take a little longer to dry, you have the option to either wait and let it dry completely, or you can paint directly on wet paint, and either way is totally reasonable. All right. So let's see, what do I want to work on today? I want to work a little bit on, let's get some of this background taken care of. So let's pop this open. And let's grab a nice little brush here. It's a good brush for this. Good brush. This is my flat brush. Here we go. might be a little bit too big of a flat brush. Let's go with this one. Let's see, we're going to grab white. Let's just start to go around into the trees here. Let's see, we're going to get some highlights into here. Try to find a bit of pink. If we have any, oh, I need to get some more paint here. What's up, Brian? I'm gonna bring in some cadmium red. PR170, PO36. What is O? What is PO? Alexa, when it comes to oil paint pigments, what does the letter O signify?
From Dartmouth.edu. To paint with ochre is to paint with the earth itself.
Alexa, off. That's not what I was asking. And I'm just throwing in some little highlights here. Little pink areas of pink in the sky. Using ever so subtle little modifications in the space here. Let's get a little bit more white into this. Try to capture this little mountain. You know, let's go a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more white into here. Still a little pink, but it's fine. Let's get down to here. Let's get down to business. I feel like playing the Mulan song. Let's get down, na na na. I play it, but then I totally know Disney would be upset. I think the main idea as we're painting this is to go into each area, and as it gets higher, it gets a little bluer as well. Why does this seem extra wobbly today? Why is it so wobbly? And if you're just tuning in, I wanted to make this video, the title, this is your sign to go make something, Don't watch this. Go create something. This is that sign. Be creative. Because if you're watching this, right, the chances are that you're either trying to just be entertained or maybe judge or evaluate, or maybe you just want some inspiration. Maybe sometimes you just want a sign. But if you're just here for entertainment, that's cool. You don't have to go make something. But if you're here for the purpose of wanting to paint or something, and like you're looking for an idea or whatever, this is that sign. Do it. Do it however you want. Just how you want it. I haven't painted, well I actually painted the other day, but I haven't been working on this in quite a few days, and it almost feels like I forgot what I was doing. It's kind of scary actually, because to know that like, just a couple days of like taking a break from painting, and if you like get out of that momentum streak, that streak of momentum, it's easy to just get stuck in a rut of like not doing it. Fortunately I just haven't been working on this the past couple days, but can only imagine if someone like stops painting for a week turns into a month turns into, you know, a year. Or 6 months. Or a month turns into 6 months, or whatever. I see how quickly that can start to like compound if you don't stick with your painting activity. Which I think that's the probably, you know, as far as like the business of trying to sell paintings is like, you know, sticking with it. You actually have to like produce your own stuff unless, you know, you become the type enough, unless you become well known enough that you can actually like hire assistants that'll work under your brand. But until then, you're like, you know, you're pretty much on your own. You really got to keep that motivation going. And yeah, you got to work yourself. You got to keep yourself motivated. Got to keep yourself motivated until you don't need to keep yourself motivated. So right now I'm just trying to create a variety of like, you know, trying to switch up the tones from blue. Trying to update some of the tones, the blue tones. What I should do right now is grab some more of this white. Try to fill it in here. Got a little bit of this blue here. I'm gonna mix that into it a little bit. Just using a nice big brush. And as I get closer to her face, of course, I'll tighten up my brush work. I use a smaller brush. Now let's bring back that smaller brush here. We're gonna go around the face and everything. So let's see how this goes. Oh, no, this is the wrong photo. There we go. Alright, so this should be white. Yes, we're gonna go white. Actually, you know what? I want to use a ruler to keep my hands steady here. Yo, what's up, Danny E? Really love this one. Did I come up with this concept? It's based on, well, this is based on a painting by, funny, I should probably just hide the reference. I'm gonna keep the reference a secret. Even though you could easily find it if you look hard enough. But honestly, if you did a photo match, you would probably be able to find it. But yes, I know I will disappoint you with this, but this is based on a painting by an artist known as Bouguereau. So William Bouguereau. Bouguereau is the name of the artist. And there you have it. There, now you know my secrets. My secret. It's out. I'm copying. This is a study from another, based on another artist's work. Yes, that's right. This is another study. Can you believe it? When will I ever stop studies? When will I ever do something that's nice and original? Maybe never. What if I never make anything original? I think I might. I would call myself. Would I be a failure? If I was an artist who never made anything original, is that total failure? I guess I couldn't really call myself an artist, right? I would just be a copyist in that case, if that ever happened. Master copyist. Yeah, thanks. This one takes, I think it's one of those things where today's your birthday. All right, Maruf, happy birthday. Gave you a little shout out. There you go. Give a little shout out to Maruf for his birthday. Little Maruf shout out. Maruf. No shame in study, you did them all the time. Love how I done her hair and skin tone. Thank you. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, if you just spend enough time copying the original person, they're so damn good that it's almost like impossible to fail. As long as you put the time into it. Put the time into it, and you just keep building, and as long as you have like a minimal grasp of the basics, I think it's totally doable. So really forcing the separation right now between her head and the rest, the space around her head. So that's the goal right now. Just getting it in here, nice and getting a nice curve in here. There we go. All right, try painting a live model, helps tremendously. Never have, but from what others say, it helps in your development. Adler, great. Dude, that is some wisdom. That is some knowledge there. Definitely painting from live models can help so much. I would totally agree to that statement. Totally agree. Yeah, LA's got a Los Angeles also. You know, I gotta say, Los Angeles has a great like live model program. They have a bunch of groups. They go under the name Gallery Girls LA, and it's basically like all sorts of live models, all the like 3 4 times a week. You can paint from live models. I don't go that often, but the great thing about painting live models is, you know, you really get an opportunity to like force yourself to have a limited amount of time to paint. And when you do that, you really start to quickly see the errors that you make on a regular basis. So like for example, when I first started painting figures, it wasn't until I started doing live models that I figured out that like the reason why some of my paintings look so weird is because I do this area between the nose and the lip. I used to make it really big, and it's not supposed to be that big. So like, you know, I actually discovered that while I was painting a live model, because the area that I did was so big that it just like you couldn't miss it. And when you start to like notice these mistakes, and you start to see that you make them on a regular basis, you know, it really helps your painting and your development. So yeah, I would totally recommend as well doing live, what's it called, live models. And of course, you know, that depends on how much opportunity you have in your neighborhood. I'm sure like every major city has like a good live model system for live models, I think. Could be wrong, but well, well, definitely a few issues, but well, we'll make it work. Yeah, live models really help you speed up your work, but they're not really going to help teach you to do long form painting, like long form oil painting. Like it'll really tell, like, you know, it'll really help you learn figures, learn like where your errors are when you're painting and stuff. But for example, this, you know, after you've got the pose, I think there's still so much to learn beyond just, you know, the beauty of figure. Because also at the same time, when you go into a modeling, a live model session, I think usually the teacher or the host is gonna have, you know, is gonna already have like poses recommended, so you don't always get to pick. And you know, I think it really helps sometimes to like see how like another master might do a pose. Such as here, you know, like their pose, you would never see this in like I mean, you might, but chances are you probably won't. You probably won't see something like this in a in a live model session. So once you at least like get an idea of like how other masters might pose, you can at least work from there. But yes, learning to like just get your figure down real quickly, whether you do like a 3-hour pose or like, you know, a half-hour pose or whatever. You know, one thing about this artist is that his painting is so crisp. Like he doesn't have edges, and I'm really working on something that I felt like I have to work on is getting rid of edges, in a sense of like, you know, usually when I paint I usually have like some little outline along the space, but I gotta break that habit. So Adler, what's stopping you from doing a live model? You gotta go get that, man. Or woman. I don't know if you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. You could be whatever or other. Adler, you gotta get those live model sessions. They can be so helpful. Get after it. You know what? You don't always need to paint too, you know? As far as like painting live models, now that I think of it, I mean, you know, I think it could be not hit or miss, but like depending on where you are in your painting. You know, if you're just painting, then yes, it's good to practice like speed painting. But as far as like oil painting that takes, you know, takes multiple sessions, that's not going to be helpful. It's really only going to teach you like alla primo, like how to paint with wet on wet. And that's such, I feel like that's such a, I don't want to say limited, but you know, there's so much that can happen if you add more time, maybe a couple more days to your paintings. Like wet on wet's great, but obviously comes with limitations and things. Money for you, however you could try having. Yeah, exactly. You can have a family member pose. I used to like go into like Starbucks or just go into public and draw people. I mean, you know how they do it. Do you know how they do it? Do you happen to know how they do it in like a typical modeling class? They'll like do like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a 20-minute pose, 30-minute pose, and then like an hour pose. That's like the format for like quick drawing. So you get to warm up a little bit, and then finally the format is, if you ever do like, if you really want to do painting, you got to find the long format. So like there's like a 2-hour format. There's like 2-hour format, and that can be, you know, that's really, I think 2 hours is really quick to do an oil painting. So, but you really got to like have, if you want to do it well, you got to get you know, your basic drawing skills done. So really just trying to make this all very crisp. This separation between her body and the sky. Just want to make it nice and crisp here. Nice crisp separation. I mean, live models, you get it, like, you know, depending on where you go, you could get them. You could find like classes in LA. LA is really expensive, but you know, even LA, you could get live models. You can find programs that do live models for like $20 per person, and they even have. If you look it up, by the way, if you want to work from live models, you can go on look up Gallery Girls LA, and they have both online and in person. And you can like they'll like if money's an issue, I think they go as low as like $10 or $15 for. By the way, this is these are nude, sometimes nude models. So you know, I don't know how old you are. You don't need to tell me, but you know, these are adult models. So you know, you might need your parents' permission or whatever. But if you go to Gallery Girls LA, they usually have two programs. They have the online and in person. And the online, you could do it. You could have do the live models, and they're only like $10 or $15. Jump in on a Zoom. Check it out. Could be worth your time. Speaking of which, I have like a paint booger here. That's really bothering me. At Gallery Girls LA. I'm sure there's probably some local ones to you, but you know, obviously they might be too expensive if you haven't. If you're telling me that, you know, that's a lot. Can't be more than $20. This dang. Where is my little palette knife? My baby palette knife. Where'd you go? Little baby palette knife. Ah, here we go. I really shouldn't be scraping it like this, but I'm doing it anyway. It actually looks pretty bad, but whatever. We will continue on here. Our lives will go on. So just quite trying to create a nice good separation between, you know, the figures and this space over here. Yeah, painting from live models is so helpful. And you know another great thing about painting from live models is the idea that you're painting live or drawing live, whether you're painting live or drawing live. I think there's like, if you go to school, they have models that like sit there for like 8 hours a day for you to study. But I think you know, the alternative is you find live models in your area, and I think they'll do like 2 hour set. They probably do 2 hour sessions. I haven't really looked it up outside of Los Angeles, but LA being a very artsy town. Although lots of galleries in Los Angeles are shutting down. So, artists everywhere, whether you're in Los Angeles or a smaller city, I think artists are, having a challenge. I think even like if you're an artist in a smaller city, it might even be not easier. I don't want to say easier, but like there's an advantage to that because I think smaller towns will be very supportive of their local artists. Whereas if you're in Los Angeles, there's so many, and the expenses are so high. It costs so much for upkeep out in Los Angeles. Which is why, I think Georgia O'Keeffe did the great move of heading out to Santa Fe. But let's see. Let's try to find some of these blues here. Let's try to mix in some of these blues. Yeah, even if you can't work from live models, there's some great tools that I found. Like, honestly, I can't remember the names of them, but if you do like timed figure drawing, like there's like free tools, and it's like there's figures they give you, clothed or nude models depending on how you want to work, where you feel comfortable with, and there's actually like a timer. I can't remember. It's like Quick Pose or something like that. I highly recommend it if you're looking to start drawing figures. And there's like timers, and you could set it for like, and it'll incremental timers. So it'll go like 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and then like, they'll go up to 10, 20-minute drawings. And I used to do live streams of that when I would go and do my drawing live streams, and I would do these exercises on my live stream. You can actually go see them if you go back far enough. But that's incredibly helpful. I think that's even more helpful than going to a live, doing live, because live, if you're not comfortable with it, then there's a pressure of working live, right? There's that pressure, especially if you're not currently familiar or if you've never done it before. You might want to build up some. I mean, you can do whatever you want, right? Maybe you could jump right into it. If you can't jump right into it, then you got to build some. Comfort level with your skills. But then once you get it, once you're able to do like quick sketches, I mean those live figure models are fantastic. Highly recommend it. But nice recommendation. I could go on about that. So Keems, what's up, dude? Thanks, Keems. Yeah, I mean, self-portrait through a mirror. That's a great one. So Adler, how's your week been? Seems like you've really it sounds like you've really been thinking about art and drawing and painting and trying to improve your skills, Adler. So, where are you at as far as your artistic endeavors? Are you here because you feel like you can learn something, or are you here because you're just, looking to connect with an art community because maybe you don't have one near where you live, or what's up? Let's you've been here a couple times, so I think it's important to get to know various people that that pop in on a regular basis. Find it very helpful, especially just to remember and have various conversations. But Keems, how long have I been painting? I mean, like anybody, right? I painted when I was a kid, albeit not very well, like in school or whatever, or drew or whatever. But as far as like serious practice goes, serious exercise, I started oil painting about 3 years ago. Let's see. Probably, I would say about like 3 years ago. I think my first live stream was about 3 years ago, as far as oil painting goes. So I would consider that like, my beginnings. But as far as art is though, I actually started in digital art before I moved into physical art a few years ago. So the advantage with digital art, as far as learning goes, is you have you can learn so much so quick, and you don't have to pay for all you need is like an Adobe Photoshop subscription. You can even use a free one like Krita, and you can learn so much that by the time you're ready to pick up a brush or a pencil or whatever, that you already have most of the fundamentals if you spend enough time just doing digital. I mean, yeah, you have to invest in you have to invest in your Photoshop. You have to invest in Photoshop, like maybe like a tablet to draw on. But after you've got all those things, it's pretty smooth. You just got to know how to like save files and stuff. And it's a great way to learn the fundamentals. If you can find a good online class or something, or a teacher or whatever, highly recommend it. Because you're a video editor, you're trying to get more into conventional arts to make you a better creative, so you're glad Adobe subs low-key be scamming. Yeah, I mean, Adobe subs or scamming? What do you mean? I also think it depends on where you live too, as far as Adobe goes. I mean, I've had a good experience with Adobe, and I use pretty much all their tools. So, I don't really have anything, honestly, don't have too much negative to say about Adobe. But yeah. So here to learn from other artists, always trying to see how other people. You've been painting for 6 years. Wow. All right. I can't remember. Have you shown us any of your work or anything or whatever? Can't remember if we did a plug of your social media or anything. Well, hopefully I can help you get to the feeling that you want as far as working with art is concerned. Oh, Adobe. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're still working their free trials, I mean, it's like they're free trials that are free trials. I haven't usually if I like if I like a technology, I'll just buy it. It's like it's an investment, right? It's your business. If it's part of your business, you gotta invest in it. So I haven't had to deal with their free trials. I mean, I've been paying for it for years, so they've always been pretty good to me. Can't complain there. Yeah. You can pay for them now? That's cool. Yeah. That's awesome. By the way, if you feel like it, you can feel free to plug your social media if you want. That is an option. Feel free to plug your social media, your Instagram, your channel, your artwork, whatever that is. But it sounds like you're more into the content side as opposed to the creative. Well, I guess the content is creative, but like as opposed to the. All right, you said you came for the discussion on content creation, not so much the painting, which I hear you. Or I see. I think I saw that. I'm trying to keep track of conversations here. Not always the easiest. All right, that took a while. I like learning from people, different views. Could I break this process down? Who's not a painter? Like, how does it go from inception? So, if you do want to see the process, if you go to my channel and you go under the shorts, you can see a quick speed through of basically every step of this painting. But if you want to know the entire, like, what led up to it, so this is actually a study. So this is a study of a painting by an artist named Bouguereau, Bouguereau. So Bouguereau, if you want to look him up, the original artwork is titled Girl Defending Herself Against Arrows. And therein is my big secret, which isn't really a secret because I probably said it in every single live stream up until now. But, and it's even in like all of my posts. I always credit the artists that I steal from. But yes. So this is based on a Bouguereau painting titled Girl Defending Herself Against Arrows. And, yeah, I guess I don't have much to say other than that. So the fact is, the reason why I brought that up is, you know, all the work that came into planning the colors, planning the composition, planning the pose, planning the model, planning all these things. I had to do none of it because it was already there for me. I just had to put in the effort to work on a, you know, choose that piece to study. But as for the process of actually painting this, I mean, if you really want to, you can see it. You watch it live and come up to your own interpretation. And I'm happy to share it here too. But, you know, you can see every step. Every step, every major step along the way. And, you know, still working on it though. Still got a lot more work to do. A lot more work to do. What are you hissing about, Pookie? Why are you hissing? No need to be hissing. So this painting, actually, you know what? Honestly, I'm not sure, because this is the first, as far as master studies go, this is the first one of its kind, in the sense that, you know, this artist painted in a very academic way, which what that really means is lots of layering. And as far as from what I understand of the artist, he did lots and lots of really thin layers, and you know, would just do section by section. So I'm trying to imitate that a little bit. And I'm thinking that this painting will probably take about, I'm about 20, almost 25 hours in. So I'm gonna guess maybe almost 100 hours. This painting might take me almost 100 hours. Probably maybe less, but that's my estimate. My initial estimate is about 100 hours. And here's the thing: is if I had actually trained academically, which I didn't, it would probably take me a lot less time, because, you know, what I probably would have done. So the way I paint actually is a little different, because, you know, if you watch my live stream or my previous videos, you'll see that how I'm painting is a lot looser. So I don't start with a base sketch. So how some artists might start, most artists start, they'll start with like a pencil sketch, and the pencil sketch will be perfect, right? They know exactly what's going on, they know exactly what color is going where. So that pencil sketch really helps a lot, that initial sketch. And that can save you a lot of time, but the way I paint is really loose, and I'll sketch it with my paintbrush, and that ends up usually leading to very rough. Like, I have to redo it lots of times. Like, I've had to lessen the width of this back multiple times, because I didn't. Because I didn't do that sketch. So, you know, my process might not be the one you want to learn from, is what I want to get at. This is not necessarily a tutorial channel. Yeah, so painting is study. You're right. No, well, it's like a master study, a master copy, master study. It's like it's basically how. I mean, I didn't go to a traditional art school, so I can't say 100% for fact that this is exactly how they do it today, because, you know, academic art has changed a lot. But as far as I know, master studies, copying another master's work, is pretty much how they've been teaching art for many years. But I think today it's more focused on trying to get the artist out of the artist. So really getting artists to lean into what their strengths are, rather than, you know, doing master copy after master copy. But I think traditional ateliers, so if you go to a painting school just for painting, as opposed to a traditional college for art, I think what they're teaching now, you know, the traditional ateliers, where if you want to just learn painting, will definitely have you do master studies, master copies. But yeah, that's essentially why you do a master study, is to learn the techniques of the old masters. But here's the funny thing, though, is I've mentioned this before, but even me copying even if I was to copy this exactly perfectly, which I haven't, but even if I was, just hypothetically speaking, I don't think that actually. There's still so much missing from the knowledge, right? Because the artist who did this, Bouguereau, was known for doing countless hours of color study and model study and figure drawing and just like perfecting everything until it was just right and ready to paint. And even if I was just to copy his painting exactly, I would totally miss out on all of those important skills. The important skills of figure drawing. I mean, I would still need to know figure drawing just to be able to copy it, but you know, there's so much more to it that so much more to it that I would have missed out on because, you know, I didn't do all the studies. I didn't pose these two figures and like decide that, you know, like this is a very unique pose. This is a very, very unique pose that you probably wouldn't find in like a modern painting. But anyway, so practice, 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 finding your own artistic style. If you're drawing a human body, how do I keep the anatomy correct if I don't rough sketch? So if you saw my last stream, or if you check out my shorts again, you can see. But I did have a loose sketch. So you know that answers your question. I did have a loose sketch. So I didn't, you know. Yeah. Yeah, so Bouguereau would paint from like what 7 a.m. in the morning until like 10 p.m. at night. Now, did he spend that entire time painting? I think we all like to imagine the greats doing that, and maybe he did. But sometimes I think artists who were really secretive were secretive because they really wanted to like hide their secrets. Obviously, like Picasso, for example, was pretty secretive. Like, he was coming up with something totally revolutionary. And this was before social media, so, like, there's really nothing secret today, but... I mean, there's still lots of secrets, but... yeah, Picasso was super secretive. When he was developing his Cubist ideas. And honestly, for this, I'm not even trying to come up with my own style here, but inevitably my own style or my own habits are going to invade this painting. My own personal habits are going to be pervasive in some form or fashion, whether I like it or not, right? Whether it's a lack of draftspersonship or or whatever, just my own habits, Nice. Well, it sounds like excuse me. It sounds like Adler is pretty familiar with Bouguereau, which is great. It's great to have people who know and are familiar with what you're working on. Bouguereau, amazing artist. So the reason why I picked this painting, by the way, is I saw this painting, the original, not the original, not this one. I saw the original at the Getty Villa, the real one, and I thought it is my favorite painting. It is still my favorite painting. and I was just so moved by this artwork that, and I'm not saying like moved to tears, but sometimes you like look at an artwork and you're like, wow, that is spectacular. That is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And again, this is just my opinion speaking. So, you know, for the time, Bouguereau was actually ostracized, loosely speaking, by the Impressionists, because, you know, when he was painting, that was when the Impressionists were getting popular. So even though Bouguereau was never struggling for clients, you know, he had plenty of clients. He wasn't as cool. He wasn't cool like the Impressionists were. You know, he wasn't getting all the fame and the whatever, but he was doing pretty well according to, you know, according to history, he was doing pretty well. So it doesn't really matter that, you know, he was ostracized by Impressionists. However, I think his artwork did die for a little bit of time. You know, it did kind of like fade away because the Impressionists really changed things for artists. Fortunately, you know, thank goodness the Impressionists did that. But like with anything, right? Everything comes and goes in trends. What was once not cool and overly technical and unrelatable is now, I think today it's, you know, this traditional academic artwork is slightly making a comeback. But here's the thing. Here's the other thing, though, you really got to think about as an artist is, you know, how many of these can I produce and how much can I sell it for? That's a big question, right? Because if it takes me, you know, if it takes me 100 hours to make this, then I have to be able to sell it for at least like $10,000, right? If we include commissions to the gallery, you know, I need to be able to make it. If you're making paintings that take 100 hours, you need to be making at least like 10K on that painting. Whereas, you know, if you're a modern artist, you're probably thinking like, what can I make with the biggest impact in the least amount of time? What can I make that's only going to take me 10 hours or less, and I can still make, you know, $10,000? And this isn't, by the way, don't take this. I'm saying all this loosely. I'm kind of, you know, having a little bit of social commentary on modern art. So, you know, take what I say loosely, but, you know, the modern artist also has to consider, like, what they're selling, how much time it's going to take. $10,000 is a loose number. No one has to take that too seriously. So, how did it look up close to me? Did it have a sheen to it? Did it have a sheen? I think most classic paintings, they like, you know, put a glazed layer or a protective layer on top of it. Any, you know, paintings that are over 100 years old, I think the museum automatically like does it. Not a glaze, but a what do you call it? It's a it's that material, like you put it on a gloss or something. I forget what it's called. I don't do it. I don't do that thing that you do after painting to make it all shiny. I don't do that on my paintings, but it did. I think, honestly, the painting in real life is so mind-blowing. Like, you look at the skin and it literally looks like just the softest, it just looks soft. You just have to see it in person. It's just, the painting is just fascinating. The skin on the figures are like just mind-blowingly real, like more like it's hyper-realism. And you can almost like touch, like if you would think like if I could touch the painting, I would feel the like real flesh. Like maybe even something softer than real flesh. That's how amazing the real painting is. It's just incredible. And I probably saw it a few years ago, and it took me like, up until now, after having gone back to it a few times, to finally be like, hey, I should do a math. Now I have the confidence to do a master's study of it. I swear, previously I didn't. Until recently, I have not had the confidence to do a master study of this painting. If I'm being honest. There's just so much involved, and I just did not feel ready to do it. So that's the truth there. There's my little talk on staying motivated and whatever. Yeah, I just up until I started this time around, I just didn't have the confidence. Otherwise, I would have done it a long time ago. It is such a masterwork. And honestly, it's probably not even Bouguereau's greatest piece, right? But it's the piece that I actually saw. So I haven't seen his other pieces. He might even have more pieces there, but I didn't actually think to look. But yeah, it just blows my mind how real the figure looks. And it's not even real. It's like fantasy real. You just want to reach up and just see if it's real skin or flesh or not. But anyway, did I have a sheen? No. Have I studied or read about any Indian painters? Honestly, I cannot name a single Indian painter. And when you say Indian, I'm guessing you mean from India, Indian? Not Native American. Yeah, do I know? Honestly, I can't name any Indian artists. They really feel like they haven't been popularized in America, in the United States. Or maybe, is it really challenging to become an artist in an Indian family? I wonder if you're raised in an Indian family, whether it's really difficult to convince your parents that you're going to become an artist. So I could see Diego Velázquez, Rembrandt changing more of an impression after leveling up their art, resin material, varnish. Yes, varnish is the word I was looking for. The Fallen says, I'm not done yet. Nope, I'm not done yet. It might take me another 100 hours. Or 80, 70 hours. Don't get me wrong. I've definitely seen Indian religious art, Hindi deities and stuff, but I can't really name anybody who. I can't name any specific artists, unfortunately. So I don't know. Feel free to inform me. Feel free to give us a history lesson, or a contemporary art lesson on a rundown on who's hot in Indian artwork. I met a guy the other day. I don't know if he was making fun of me, but he was saying, "Wow, you have beautiful long hair." He was from India, and he's like, "You have beautiful long hair." He's like, "All the artists in India have beautiful long hair." Now, on a surface level, it's very clear he was complimenting me, but I wasn't sure if he was saying that in a way I don't know. Maybe I'm probably overthinking. He's like, "Oh, you're an artist. Of course you're an artist. You got long hair." Indian artists have long hair too. So all you know is that you really like Indian art before the British. So do you live in India? Is that where you're based? All right, so I finished this background. I've got some of this background. You know, I like where it's at. I've got the figure. She's really got her shape. So I think some things I got to build up now. Let me build up this kid's hair. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I can build up her hair a little bit more. I need to build up some. The hair is so wispy in this, in the actual painting itself. So I want to see if I can possibly, you know, add a couple more like little highlights. Let me see. I'm gonna take a nice smaller brush here. Yeah, this painting might take me like another, I don't know, 180, 70 hours, maybe even more. I don't know. This painting's gonna take me a while. But that's, you know, it's an interesting thing about social media. It's like, and by the way, I overshare my thoughts. So, you know, I definitely feel like the pressure of social media. Like, I always have to be working on something new, right? You can't spend, you know, 100 hours on a painting because your audience wants something new, wants something fresh and new, and it's just interesting to feel that pressure. Whereas if I didn't stream, I wouldn't have that pressure. Or maybe I would, I don't know. And people, this is why I can't have nice things. This is a brand new brush, but I left it laying on its side and it got bent up. This is why I can't have nice things. You know what? Maybe I can use it for something better in the future. So you've been toiling a new video idea for weeks, don't have any audience, but the pressure does feel real. Yeah, I mean, it is in our head. Well, like, I mean, you know, if you're making content, then of course you do have that pressure, right? And I do find that I have to separate my own, you know, the content creator from the artist, and figure out, like, you know, the balance, which is why most of my pieces are done in, like, you know, 4 to 20, you know, 4 to 20 hours. But this piece specifically, I'm spending some more time with. But yeah, this brush is done for. Well, you know what? Now's a good time for a demo. Let's see if this can revive it. So I'm gonna try to revive it. I'm gonna try our Masters brush cleaner right here. So this is a brush cleaner. Supposedly, it is the Masters brush cleaner. It's just like a thing of soap. But it's done some magic to some of my other brushes. So what if, you know, it is possible to revive it? 4 to 20 hours. Yeah, usually I take 4 to 20 hours. This one I've already passed, you know, the 20-hour mark, so. So let's see if we can revive this brush. If anything, you know, at least get the paint out from in it. Scout, psst, go away. Scout, psst, go. My cat is all up in the business here. And this is the worst time for him to be around because I have this big bottle here that's just filled with old nasty paint that I use to clean my brushes. And if he knocks it over, that would be horrible. So let's see, are we reviving the brush? I think it's doing an okay job. It's doing an okay job. I'm actually quite surprised here. I don't think it's going to return to its shape. I think that's not going to happen, but I do think that it'll at least get rid of some paint inside. You never wash brushes, but lay them in oil, mix with clover oil, keep it from drying, lay them on an angled down tray with the oil at the end of the tray. What kind of tray do you use? People keep telling me to do that, but I haven't tried it. Hey, take care, Keems. Thank you so much. Good chatting with you, dude. Stay tuned for more. Do share whatever you got updates on too. Look forward to seeing stuff. Like I have seen tray papers. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah, I gotta find a better way of maintaining my paintbrushes because they're dying way too fast. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I don't think it's going to be revived, but now I have a brush that is bent, so I can I think this'll have a purpose somehow. I think this'll have a purpose. We'll find a purpose for this. Let me do one more trick. Let me try one more trick here. The last trick in our book. The last trick in my book that I have. I'm sure other people have more tricks, but I use this brush comb. This is actually supposed to be used for, big brushes. As you can tell, look how far apart these nails are. But what is cool is they have this this copper side, and the copper is very, very thin fibers. So if the brush is pretty much done for, I don't mind ruining it a bit more and trying to scrape it on this copper and just seeing, just trying to separate it, scrape the paint off. and, you know, messing up the brush a little bit. Go paint some models, Adler. Make that a goal. All right. So let's see. What's this? Oh yeah, it actually. You know what? It worked a little bit. The shape has come back. I don't think I'm ever gonna get it unbent, but you know the shape has come back a little bit. A lot of the paint has come off. Paint particles. So I think we're in. We're doing all right. You know what? Let's actually try to use this brush. So the fingers are looking okay, but I want to tighten up the hands. I'm kind of nervous to tighten up the hands on this kid because I don't know. I don't have this. I don't have the reference for it. I gotta make it up on his hands. Let me see what I could do in the hair here. Scrape off this little. Paint booger. Let's see how this works in the hair. Maybe it's like a nice gentle pulling color. So let's go with the hint of red. A red brown. We're gonna go for a red brown here. Grab our blue, the red. We're going with the burnt sienna, and we're mixing some blue in there. Grab a little bit of white just to lighten it up. It's okay if this looks a little like mud. I just want it to be fairly dark. One day, I will be able to show my palette, but for now I can't. So let me see, where do I need some highlights here? So it's gonna go like that. That looks okay. This little section right here. You know, this brush is really interesting. It's a different shape, so it kind of like forces me to work a little different. I kind of like it. Not bad. It is giving me an interesting effect here. So giving you some browns. The only thing is, like, if I'm comparing myself to Bouguereau, his transitions are so much subtler, just like so much subtler. His transitions are just so beautiful, so subtle, and you know my transitions here are a bit rougher. If I'm thinking about it. If I'm comparing myself to one of the great masters, if I'm comparing myself, of course he's better. But here we go. Let's see. We've got some shadow in here, the rest of our shadow, and let's do a little bit lighter highlight in this section, actually. I'm gonna loosen up this color just a little bit. Let's lighten up this color. Nice and wet there. No, a little bit too bright. Let's bring back our blue, brown. And I just don't know if this is looking good. I don't know about these colors. Maybe it'll change after I allow it to dry a little bit, just to create these like multiple textures in the hair. We'll see. The painting can change so much like between drying, because right now the colors are wet, so they kind of create this look. That's a little too much. I don't know. Plus, I'm playing with a new brush, so. But you know what? I think the hair, as far as like all the different elements go, the hair is probably the easiest to like fix. So I'm not too worried. I don't mind experimenting on the hair here. But we'll work this. Has some dimension though. It's got some dimension. So say to myself, I am a master oil painter. Yes, I am a master oil painter. There we go. Look at that. Look at Adler motivating me, keeping me inspired. Master oil painter. I am the greatest of them all. The greatest ever. Alright, I don't need to go that far, right? Let's not take it that far. I don't need to go full Kanye. That should be a thing when people's egos start to get out of line. They should say they went full Kanye. I don't know why that's not like a thing already. All right, let's go. What do we need to work on here? Let's work on something that needs to be worked on. Let's actually go down here. This little funny area is just like these really brown shadows, but it doesn't need to be that distinct. So let's grab this brush and let's go paint this closer. So we're gonna grab this hint of blue here. We're just gonna go in. Let's go. We want the blue. We want the blue and the green mixed. The green, and the white, and the green. It's coming to here. And let's see, so right under here. Shadows should just be really subtle, not nearly as much as I've made it. And here's another thing, like, whew, this artist, this guy, Bouguereau, is so good at painting, like, just subtle transitions. This little section right here is just so masterfully done. So masterfully done. Such a masterwork. Try to find that green again. A little more of this green. Maybe this will end up being a bit more white or a little bit more blue than green. Look, my ruler doesn't go down far enough. Well, yeah, it does, I guess. What should I do? Oh yeah, let me pull the Mizu pinky move. I think the real move is use your pinky. The only thing is oil paint. It doesn't dry as quick. Sometimes I can't really use my pinky. Alright, let's go and brush that across. Might even have to do that shadow again. But we'll see. We'll just keep this going. Try to bring in some of these pinks again. So we're going to bring back in some of these pinks. Pinks into this area right here. Too bright. Dull it down a little. Let's see. Grab a green, red, green. Green should dull it down just a little bit. And that just makes it grayer. Know your color theory, people. How's this color? Alright, not bad. It's It's like a muddy purple. Not too bad. I actually do like this section, even though this section doesn't look anything like the original. I do like it. I feel like it's very interesting. It's not boring. So I'm actually going to keep this and keep this pretty loose. And let's go. I feel like I need to do another master study of Bouguereau. I need to do another master study after this. I don't know which one yet, though. We'll see. Maybe one of his like earlier works. All right, let's see if there's anything we could do on let's work on the big brush, and I want to work on this thing. What do you call this? A thing. We call it a thing. A scarf, a blanket, a towel, whatever. Call it whatever. It's a thing. You know, it's funny. I have the perfect color to the base for this is a turquoise. It just needs to be a little bit bluer. I want to find like a good color match. Maybe a hint bluer. But it's a fantastic color to start with. And we're going to go, let's just try to figure this out. Let's analyze how Bouguereau did these colors here. So around here maybe. Let's go. One thing to remember that I try to remember is supposedly he often painted with very, very thin paint and would just layer them so gently, ever so, subtly, piece layer by layer. So as I work through this, I think it's good to just kind of remember that I have to be patient and layer, and don't let people like that guy who said, I'm still working on this. Who's that guy? The Fallen. Yes. It's easy. Like live streaming has definitely allowed me to realize how easy it can be for people to get into your head. Yes, that's right. How easy. Which is why I think poker is such a challenging game, is because when people get into your heads in poker. And I'm not even like, competing. It's just funny that like someone could make a comment like, how long are you going to be working on this for? Are you still working on this? And that can easily, throw someone off, right? Now just imagine that, but not realizing that that you can easily be manipulated. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't feel manipulated. How easy it can be to get let somebody's comments overly affect you. So supposedly Bouguereau would work with very large brushes. So I'm trying to work primarily with large brushes here. At least for the fabric, until we move on to like, you know, more serious fabric design. I do not like painting fabric, by the way. So I'm forcing myself to figure this out as we go. It's definitely not my favorite thing. And as far as I know, like historically speaking, the art schools of the world actually had like, you know, if you were the master at an academy, you know, you could have your minions paint your fabric for you while you painted the faces and stuff. Minions. I want some minions. Who wants to be my minion? Hmm. Who can handle a joke? I'm just kidding. I wouldn't call you a minion. Alright, let's go. Oh! Let's go up here. So it should be a little darker, right? Yeah, that's a little darker. That's good. Alright, that's a good dark shade. And here we go. So we'll go into here. Honestly, just getting too bright with these. This is just too bright. How did Bouguereau paint his shadowy areas? As far as this section is concerned, I honestly don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of making it up and copying as I go. So if anyone wants to know my process, that's it. Just looking and copying and just doing my best. Well, not even doing my best. I'm just like trying to figure it out. You know, my best would be using a really small brush and like perfectly analyzing and copying exactly what I see. I think that would be my best. But I'm also working a little loosely here. Easy for them to say something because they say face, but conscious people would treat you as they would like to be treated. Thank you. Well, there we go. Thank you. Conscious people would treat me as they like to be treated. And by the way, I'm throwing Fallen under the bus. I'm kind of, you know, I get it. Live streaming, it's one of those things. It's if you haven't noticed, with me and some of the other regulars here, I am totally okay with roasting and trolling. Appropriate trolling, right? Not like harmful trolling, being a bigot, but trolling, like talking crap or whatever. I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. All right, let's go with a couple highlights right around here. Still trying to find the shapes of these areas here. So let me try to grab this. I'm gonna grab this, and let's see if we could add a hint of an ultramarine blue to this. What's up, Scout? What's up, Mr. Kitty? My cat is just staring at me. So I need to find some ultramarines. Try to find some blue ultramarine mixed with this green turquoise color. Pookie, what are you doing? Why are you being mischievous in this area here? Alright, let's see. So, alright, we're going to come down here and let's create... Whatever shall I do with these areas here? Honestly, I probably could just brush them up a little bit more. Let me see. Let me find a brushy brush and try to spread this paint out instead of letting it use it more as like a glaze rather than a maybe if I let it glaze a little bit, it'll be better. Yeah, there we go. That actually works. So this is a more transparent color, so I'm using it as a glaze. Letting it glaze our painting. Glaze with blue. Got it. All right, Parvane, what's up? What's going on? Thank you. Yeah, this painting is still. We are still working on this. We'll be going at this for maybe you. Honestly, I could see myself spending more than 100 hours on this because because not only, like, I feel like if I knew exactly what I was doing and how to do it, I could probably do this in about 30 hours, 30 to 50. I might even be done by now, right? Because if I had perfectly sketched out everything, instead of like modifying it, I knew exactly how to do grisaille, which is, you know, a grayscale, and then like exactly how to glaze over it. I'd probably be, you know, you'd be done in about 3 steps. But, you know, I'm still working on so many different areas, and I can see this taking more than 100 hours. So I don't know. We'll keep going until such time it says that we can go no longer. Well, let me try to get these. Let me do a smaller brush, and I want to work on the hands of both of these figures right now. Let me find like a nice flat brush here. I'm gonna go flat brush. Try this flat brush actually. All right, I'm gonna go flat brush. Flat brush might be a little too big. Let's try. No. Brush I use. Go with this one. Let's go. Oh, that's kind of cool. I had a color on here that works perfect for what I'm about to do. It's like a little shadow up the hand. And you know what's interesting? Earlier I was commenting about how perfect this painting was, about how perfect he had like no extra outlines. But now that I'm looking at it, he had plenty of outlines around the hands. There was plenty of outlines. You know, so it's interesting, like, you know, I find out myself doing this a lot, like thinking how the old masters wouldn't do things like leave an outline, or like, you know, every single brush was perfectly placed. But at the same time, when I also study master works, I also find that, you know, a lot of them ended up adding like their own quirks and stuff. Adding in their own takes, their own style, their own little signature, if you may. Their own little signature movements or whatever. So, let me see. What do we need right here? We need I remember looking at this and I was like, the fingers look all wrong. So the fingers definitely look wrong here. I gotta go in with the flesh tone or flesh tone here. Let's try to find our flesh tone using our red. It's the blush color. All right, let's see. Let's see, right into maybe here. Oh, here we go. There's a little bit of loose colors in here. And let's see how we can work this color in. Oh yeah, this is actually a color that can really brighten up some of the area here. Just gotta gently plug this color in here. A little highlight along the top of the finger right here. Go up into this. Alright, let's keep this going. Actually, I think this color is okay. It's like a nice lighter pink color that we can use to capture some of the different flesh shades. And let's go like this. We can bring this right into here. It's a little bit of a more red shade. Slightly redder shade. This will help us capture something a little different here. Just try to capture like into here, just cross brush here, just to have like a little bit of like a alternative highlight. And by the way, speaking of like, you know, when I see styles like this, amazing, thank you, professional. Which color am I using? So for this color, actually, I have a couple colors mixed in. So I'm using this. I'm using a cadmium red. So this is actually, you know, I don't even know if this is a cad red. This might be a cad red hue. Let me see. Oh yeah, so cadmium red deep hue. So it's not actually cadmium red. It's a hue of cadmium red. So I'm using this color of, so I have this cad red. I mixed it over here with some white, a lot of white, and just the this burnt sienna, you know, the red brown, to just dull it down a little bit and get like a more fleshy tone. And that's what I'm using just to fill in the flesh right now. And you know, one thing as I'm painting this, one thing that I, you know, realized as far as like, you know, how does someone come to paint something like this? They have to really enjoy it, right? Like you can't, this isn't the type of art that you can like, I mean, you can, but you can only do this for so, you can only discipline yourself into making art like this for so long, right? Eventually, you know, I think that's what came by, that's what the Impressionists really gave to us, right? Gave us the option to be like, hey, you know, if I don't feel like painting in the most like draftsperson way, then, you know, I have the option to become, you know, more impressionistic. And, you know, as I see this, you know, I think that, you know, it makes me wonder, like, what was Bouguereau doing in his studio for hours at a time? I mean, he probably was like so focused, and it just like this painting style just aligned with him because maybe he was like a perfectionist, right? If you're a perfectionist, this type of work, like, just you love this type of work because, you know, you were focused on every little detail, and like, you know, every single thing that you do feels like it's a relief to you. Probably. Like if you've ever had, I haven't had OCD, and I'm using this term loosely because I don't really know. You know, I don't want to like diagnose, right? But I'm using this word loosely in the sense of like, I think what happens if you have OCD is like the reason why you repeat things is because like you have to, right? You can't like move on until you've repeated, you've done something, like you washed your hands enough times or whatever, and it just, you know, once you get that feeling, you know, it feels good. that's my understanding of like OCD in the most basic unclinical way. And it makes me wonder, like, you know, certain artists that do like super hyper realistic stuff. I mean, you know, part of me wonders if their gift, if they're able to use the power of their gift of being OCD when it comes to artwork, and just transition that into to making artwork that's just like hyper real, you know. And if you're not OCD, you either gotta like discipline yourself into it, or you gotta find a way that works for you. But here I am, just adding some pinks in. These pinks are really gonna help us, you know, create a different level of like color into her elbows and flesh here. Burnt sienna. Do I use acrylic? No, I don't have any. Have not used acrylic. I don't even have a bottle of acrylic paint. I've never got into it. As soon as I started painting, I moved from digital. As soon as I moved from digital painting into you know, physical, I decided that I was gonna go. I just, you know, decided right away that I was just gonna pick oil and stick with it. And honestly, it's like I just love the idea, you know, working with oil, and I love the idea that the fact that it takes a while to dry, and I have like, you know, hours to play with the paint and modify the paint and change the way it looks, and mix paint on the canvas. I just love that idea. So oil really appeals to me. Well, maybe one day I will find my way into acrylic work. You know, maybe one day I will. One day. All right, so here we go. We're gonna do a little bit of brushing. Trying to figure out how I can capture the shadow without like overpowering the shadow. I still want to have it somewhat dark, but not like not too dark. Boogie, psst, scout, psst, go. Cats. Let's see, what color is this? This is a shadow color, so we can. A little bit of purple there. Okay. You get this a little bit darker, just a hint darker with this burnt sienna color. I love burnt sienna too. It's a great color. It's a great color base foundation from which to make so many different colors. Try to find this brown. Let's see. This is gonna come right up to the elbow here. So Parvane, what time is it in Iran? With impressionistic art, it feeds into how your eyes perceive things. Our eyes compact the important stuff, and unseen stuff is finished by the mind. Yeah, I mean, that's another great thing about impressionist art is like, you know, I think not everyone needs every detail handed to them, right? Like painting, like it's great if you can flex and you can like, you know, show your skills or whatever. But, you know, when you're painting, I think it's always important to consider who you're painting for. And, you know, we live in a world where people have seen it all, right? Like they've seen photography, they've seen, you know, they see things in movies, CGI, all these things. And you know what? Maybe it's not necessary to show every hair on the human body or every hair on an animal. You know, maybe it's good to let people figure out ideas for themselves when they look at your artwork. That's one thing that I picked up from one of my mentors, though. So one of my mentors, Hardy Fowler, he's a digital artist, a digital concept artist. He's done lots of like really well-known games and stuff. And he's a digital artist. I'm sure he could paint if he wanted to, but he is a digital artist mostly. And he says like early on he made this painting, and it's like absolutely brilliant painting. It is just a digital painting, and if you zoom in really, 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 really close to the glove, like so he's got like a glove on, and if you zoom in really, 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 really close to the glove, you can, and this isn't the same glove, but you can see every little crack in the glove. Like it was a special type of fiber, and you can see every strand of fiber. That's the type of artist he was, and you know, he said that that's probably, you know, if he could do that painting all over again, like he would not go into that much detail. Like it was highly unnecessary detail, and you know he doesn't work like that anymore. But you know, at the same time, I'm sure pieces like that really help to build an artist's ability. Like if you know that you can draw every little crack and groove in a glove, then you know that you could probably make a really darn good painting. But what he said was this idea of, you know, sometimes you don't have to do everything for the viewer. Sometimes you just need to help them get the idea, and then move on, right? Just give them the idea and then move on with it. That's it. So hey, take care, Pavane. Thank you so much for jumping in to say what's up. So here we go for like the 6th time trying to get these shadows underneath the arms. You know, these shadows underneath the arms are very difficult for me because they're so subtle. Let me see. All right, so clean off this brush. Let's bring this flesh color back. We're gonna try to build into this shadow here. Actually, a little bit darker. Let's go just a hint darker. I get this even a little bit darker. And a little bit of blue. A little bit of blue. The other thing about this painting, just a thought for people, anybody who decides to try to do this in the future. Um, One thing that I didn't know going into this about the artist is that he actually used this technique called grisaille, Grisaille, which I actually don't do. I've never done it, except for in like digital studies. But basically, what it is you take gray as your like main color. You take a gray, and then with that gray, you get all your shades and everything. And with that gray, all the shades and everything, then you go ahead and you paint the colors on top of the gray. And what that does is it gives you like a really gives you this really interesting layer underneath that's like gray. And then when you're painting on top, it creates this illusion of dimension and everything, which it does a really good job of creating that illusion. Because when you're seeing colors on top of gray, your eyes are gonna know what to do. Your eyes are gonna do something with it. So, but it's a really challenging technique because not only do you got to do the grayscale like perfectly, but then you also got to know the color theory on top of it. So it's not an easy technique, but I actually didn't know that he used that. So like even as I'm painting this, I don't know if he actually used it for this, but he probably did, or at least some of it. Because when you look underneath all the flesh, there's like these little tones of like gray, green, blue, and it almost feels as if he must have done some version of it. Some version of it. There must have been some level. Not too bad. Got the shadow underneath the arms. And then let's come around like this. The shadows are looking okay, not too bad. Not too shabby. Show a little bit of shadow right underneath this thumbprint, like right here. Nice subtle shadow under this thumbprint right there. Oh yeah, what did I originally want to do here? I wanted to fix his thumbs, so let's do that. Let's update his thumbs here. So, a nice little thumb right there. And what's up with his thumb? It needs to come around, so. Let's go. And his thumb's got to be different too, because it's obviously he's red. So how do I navigate that? If something is red, how would it look if it was just the flesh? I mean, it'd probably look like this, honestly. It'd probably just be red with look like a sunburn, like a really bad sunburn. So I think this actually works. Even though if I actually studied the color red, I might get a different thing than this. I mean, he just looks like he's got a bad sunburn, and that actually makes sense. So we might stick with this as far as this little figure's color is concerned, but we do have to keep going with the flesh tone here. So let me navigate his finger. There's something wrong with this finger as far as like, you know, how I painted it. Huh. See what the camera's seeing. Camera's looking okay. Yeah, alright. That's not too bad, actually. So let's grab some red and let's build it in to his fingers. We're going to grab some red and build it into his fingers. And we're going to figure out, you know, we're going to navigate this finger here. So let's start to build some red in. And then, you know what, from here, like, we're going to build the should stop stuttering. We're going to build the we're gonna build what am I trying to say? Oh, we're gonna build the white on top of the red. That's what I wanted to say. There we go. I can speak sentences. I can say sentences. Yay. So what I wanted to say was we're gonna be able to build the red on top of the top of our figure here. Actually, I'm going to use a really loose red here, really thin red. So thin as in I've put in a lot of mineral spirit. Use a lot of mineral spirit, and we're going to we are going to continue this. So let's see. So this is going to go up a little bit. Go up to the fat of the finger. And then we're going to go up and around. How's that thumb looking? Yeah, not too bad. All right, that thumb actually looks okay. Thumb does not like how they love these subtle gray tones. Gives you a break from the colors, like how they give you to sniff coffee beans at a cologne shop. Yeah, okay, thanks. I mean, if you want to see a masterfully done, look at that. Look at photos of that, the painting. My goodness, those. I'm just learning and modifying here. Yes, I am a master oil painter. I'm a master oil painter. Does everybody know that? Let's tell the whole world. I'm a master oil painter. The words of Adler. All right, here we go. So, you know, as artists, I think artists do have to live in a little bit of a delusion. You know, not harmful delusion, but a little bit of delusion. A little bit of delusion is helpful, in my opinion. But I've been wrong before. Very, very wrong. Very wrong. I don't know, does everybody know what it's like to be very wrong? Like, to be so wrong that, like, not somebody got hurt, but, like, that, you know, things could have gone very, very, very bad. Has anyone ever felt that wrong before? Yes, I have been in those situations where I've been really wrong, and it's not good. It's not a good place to it's not a good place to be very wrong about something. Straight up horror movie this stuff. All right, so I think the thumb's looking okay. Therefore, I can actually build up some of these color areas into the fingers here, like give it a little bit of a knuckle there, and then let's give a little bit of a finger design right here. We can come around and round out some of this, shadow, I guess. I like this challenge of like having to paint this devil figure that's not even like that's not in the reference. So part of the reason why I wanted to also add this character in was because I feel like it's one thing if I copy her and study her and then like try to learn as much as I can. But it's another thing like if I can actually apply what I've learned and do a whole different figure on the other side and make it look like a cohesive painting, that's where I would feel like I've made like I've done a good study, right? I've done something that actually changes the thing, but also while being able to say that I learned something. And even then, as I like constantly look back at their painting, it's just so different. My painting is so different. My master work is very different from his. My masterful strokes here are very different. So, but I do like where this little like sunburn look is happening. So I actually like that, and I'm gonna work to keep that, and I'm gonna figure out how to make it work better. But let's see, along the shadows, we're gonna come down here and let's go with this little blushed cheek right here. Let's just like scrub in some white, like where there's some highlight areas. Scrub in some like fleshy tones. Mix these fleshy tones in with make it look like he's got a sunburn, sort of. All right, get some of these fleshy tones here. Let's work on the top of this arm right here. So, top of this arm. Give it this light pink look here. And honestly, feel like at this point we're pretty much just like this is pretty much like just glazing, almost. Just using a nice little transparent color to go over the top of this to help create this look here. Probably not. I should probably use a different brush too, but got momentum. Let's see, I'm actually going to give him my hand, right? So I remember I was going to go like this. So I'm trying to see where his shadows would have been from the bottom on the right side of the hands. So anywhere on the right side, I'm going to create some shadow. Anywhere on the right side is going to be some shadow. Bottom and right side. Bottom and the right side. So definitely around the side here. Oh, this is gonna be hard. Let's go. What I should do is I need to take a photo of my hand as a model and use it as a reference rather than trying to do this. So I'll have to save that for another day. Note to self, make a model reference of my own hand to work from. Because otherwise it's, you know, I don't want to ruin the whole painting just because this hand, you know, I have this happen, like if I ever paint with my glove on, what's going to happen is it's going to be like, it's going to look like a glove's on. I've definitely tried painting before with a glove on of my hand, and you know, even if you try to make it look like a real hand, it you know, it never ceases to amaze me how good your eyes are, your brain and your eyes are at interpreting things. So like no matter how hard I try to not to draw my hand looking naturally, it's gonna end up pulling the details from the glove. So that's one thing one of my mentors taught me is really, you know, pick your references wisely. Pick your references wisely. Because you will inevitably capture some of the details of your maybe I could do a little bit. See, it kind of goes like that, right? Something like that as we're building this, fist. Let's see, definitely gonna get some, you know, some shadow in between each finger here. Let's see, you know what, I can actually do a little bit, just a little bit. Each knuckle's gonna just come up a little bit further. Oh wow, alright, so we're gonna see that. I can't really see that. He's gonna have smaller fingers than me, of course. I mean, he could have the same length fingers. I don't know. I guess he could have about the same length of fingers as me. And this is gonna come up. Draw the shadows underneath. Let me see. And then there's going to be one more finger here. I mean, there's so many things to modify here, but really just got to get a photo of my hands and work from it rather than constantly switching back and forth. This last one's going to be disappeared. So we're going to come around. And then get some shadow underneath here, just to kind of get the party started a little bit. And some shadow down here. In the original painting on the highlights, they appear to be blush. In most cases, they add the highlight depending on the source, in this case, the sky. Like how they give me, on the original painting, on the highlights, did they appear to be bluish? Let me see. You know, here's the thing is the highlights, I mean, they don't appear to be bluish to me. But here's the thing is I mean, some of the highlights do appear a little bit green. So, you know, my guess is that he's trying to capture the reflection of the, you know, either of this or the grass. So there are some green highlights. But here's the funny thing is like Bouguereau didn't put highlights the same way like I think most people would. Most people would. Because if you look at his highlights, like they're not in like typical places. Like there's a highlight right in front of the ear. There's a highlight on this part of the nose. There's highlights like at just this little strip of the top of the arm. And you know, the front of the face is brilliantly like in shadow, while like the back and the side of her face is like not in shadow. So it's really hard to like, you know, I mean, I guess it's not that hard. I'm analyzing right now, but he just did such a great job on everything. And I think he did so many things so different than how I think many artists would have attempted it. There's so much to glean from his work, to pick up, to learn, to learn from. Alright, so here we go. Using some of this brown for shadow. I don't even know, like, I don't think our shadows are going to be totally consistent, because one second I'm switching from brown, another section I'm switching to, like, white or pink or whatever. Let's grab this white. We got some of this white here. And just give him this human fleshy color here. Slightly human. And hopefully it just works. I'm just hoping it works. Alright, let's get some reds, some deeper reds into here. Go. So I've decided I'm going to give him slightly pointy ears. I guess these are very pointy ears. And let's see, we want to, I don't mind the shadow being underneath. I think, I'm trying to think of my light source, probably there, so this actually makes sense if I bring my light, if this down here onto the leg, as opposed to over on the other side. So let's go ahead and play with that. Let's grab some red. Let's just bring some red. Sure, bring some of this red. Let's bring some red. And the red over here. And let's go like this. Let's see if we can start adding some definition to these toes here, actually. Now that I've got this little section going, let's see. Let's get some really deep browns, or like a burnt sienna into here. And I should probably sit. There we go. So this toe, we're gonna come right down into here. Actually, you know what? What should I do? Shit. Let's use a different brush for this next section. Use a different brush. And we're just going to why did all my brushes go bad and get hard? I'm not treating my brushes right, that's why. Treat your brushes nice and they will last long for you. So let's use this brush right here. Oh, yuck. It's not good. Alright, we're going to use this brush and let's tighten up the feet here. So we're going to go in with our burnt sienna and a little bit of red. And let's tighten up this toe, these feet here. Let's see, we're going to come around the top. So we're going to go like this. Here we go, nice blood red. And here we go, we're going to go bring across the top right there. And then let's go boom. And he did such a great job with these feet. Let's see, top of the toe, we're going to come across right here. Across the toe. We're going to bring this up right there. Let's try to use a paler version of this. I want to capture the tops of the toes. So let's go one toe. One toe. And then two toes. Second toe is like right around here. Third toe is right around here. Let's see, 1, 2, and then the third toe right here, right? Yep, that's good. 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth toe. It should come right around here. I think that looks a little better here. All right, let's actually get the shadow area here. So we're gonna come around. Let's actually raise this heel back a little bit, give him a slightly bigger heel. And here we're coming down, building a shadow on the feet. Well, let me see if we go up like this. Gotta work these toes, work the feet. Let's get the little creases in the feet here. This little section right here, that's like a little triangle that comes down. And then a little gap right there. Still something wrong. Still something wrong. Anyway, let's keep going. What if the real reason why some of the artists spent so much time in the well, this probably is a really good reason, but you know, they couldn't really afford to make mistakes, right? Like paint was so precious back then. You know, imagine before paint tubes, trying to paint before paint tubes. You got to go out to your local merchant and like have them convince the queen to go on another journey to go collect some more paint colors. To go to your local merchant, fend against the pirates as you import the paint, and then you had to get it like shipped in, and you had to mine it, and like, oh, just thinking of the process of having to get paint back in the day is enough to make me. If I probably wouldn't have been a painter in many past lives, because the amount of work that painters had to go through, like the effort that painters had to go through to get paint, get materials. You had to like work for the king. You couldn't just paint for. You can't. I think back then you couldn't just paint for leisure. You know, you couldn't just paint something because you got an inspiration and you wanted to do it. You had to like. You know, you had to have a commission, or like. You know, be under the tutelage of a high-ranking official that would allow you to use paint and like paint for the church or whatever. Collect pigments and only make what you need fresh that day. Yeah, that just blows my mind. I don't think I would have been able to do that. I mean, maybe, but I just, you know, knowing myself, I don't think I would have done it. And, you know, thank goodness, because I would not have been an artist back in the day. I just pretty much know that I wouldn't. Given all those factors, you know. Wow, it's 10:30. We're going pretty late tonight. Cool. I like this. As I navigate the feet here. Let's figure out something to do with these feet here. His legs. We want to give him his like regular sunburn look. So paint this like white into it. Give him his little sunburn look for the highlight areas. Call it the sunburn. It's been burned by the fire. Fires of hail. No, I want this character to be a little bit more whimsical than like a hell demon. And I will say, if in the future, I think the one thing I went wrong with this painting is I think that the character. I don't know. I don't really think the character actually works with the lore of traditional Bouguereau lore. From my understanding, traditionally Bouguereau painted like fairies and fairy tales. Although, you know what? He did paint a devil. He did paint a few devils. I think a lot of Bouguereau's work were actually quite dark, come to think of it. You know, he did a lot of like whimsical stuff. That's as popular, like whimsical, beautiful, cute fairy tales and all that jazz. But he actually painted some pretty dark paintings. And dark, I mean like, you know, for that time, you know, painting like demons and creatures and all that, right? I think he did do quite a lot of work that was like that. So this wouldn't technically be too off-brand, but I feel like as far as this character goes, first I think Bouguereau wouldn't have painted him red. I think he would have painted him like, you know, a more neutral color. The red stands out a little too much. It's like it's just overpowering. So I might have to, you know, that's why I'm trying to do my best to reduce his red somehow over time. But we will figure that out as we go. But for now, but also I'm not quite convinced as far as this painting goes that he actually fits the lore because, like, you know, Eros is Cupid. I don't necessarily know if a demon would have been a perfect substitute as opposed to, like, you know, I should have thought and been like, oh, well, this is gonna be Loki or something, you know, like girl toying with Loki or something. I could probably still do that. I don't know how Loki's always depicted, but I'm sure there's a version of Loki that looks like this, baby Loki. Actually, you know what? I already have a name for this. Why am I even talking about this? I already have a name. It's called Girl Toying with Trouble. In case people didn't know, but. You know, I just talking about how I would have done things differently. It's too late to change now. I'm not gonna change this figure, but as far as like, you know, just thinking, contemplating about over analyzing my own work, what I would do differently. And I wonder if it actually works that he has different levels of like red. Like up here he looks like he's got a bad sunburn, and then like in other areas he just looks like, you know, just different colors. I don't know. Alright, we've got the shape of this hand, which is good. But now, let's actually shape up this foot here. We can add a couple of highlights just to establish a different zone here. So we're going to add some highlights to the back of the leg right here, and, you know, bring this down into the sides of the feet here. And let's see, so then we're also going to create a separation here, so nice separation here between the top of the foot. Nice separation, just to get some highlights here. So this will be the other toe. Just using some highlights to separate the feet areas. And then let's go, there's going to be a toenail right here. Just keeping it fairly big, you know, just getting the major shapes here. Just getting some big shapes. And then we're going to work in, you know, better details later, but just capturing the major areas of, major zones of light and dark. It's pretty much what I've done on this section here. And if anything, so back to my mentor, Hardy Fowler. My goodness, if anybody was a great mentor to teach, I highly recommend him if you want to like study through digital art. He's got some online programs like a digital painting. I think he has the domain name, something digital painting studio, digitalpaintingstudio.com. I highly recommend Hardy Fowler. But if anybody is really talented at building up colors and values and light on top of dark, it is Hardy. And I learned so much from him just digitally, watching him, how he would like work areas and build highlights on top of spaces. And there's just so much to get from him. And you can study it digitally, you know? And then whenever you're ready, you can go move on to, of course, whatever you want. Physical, acrylic, oil, well, maybe not a watercolor, because watercolor is very unique in a sense of like, you know, I think the way watercolors work is it's just so unique. You know, acrylic, when it dries, you got opaque versus not opaque. But I think with watercolor, it's all like, you know, any watercolor color just eventually, it all just kind of mixes together and creates, if you're not careful, just creates a very ugly, well, not ugly, I guess it could all be very nice depending, but I don't know, I don't use watercolor. I tried watercolor a little bit. I also haven't invested in a very expensive watercolor kit. I've had a few kits and they just, you know, they're really difficult to use. So it could just be the watercolor that I've used, but you know, watercolor is definitely one of those challenging. Watercolor is very challenging. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so here we go. We're gonna paint around, go. Good because we got a good layer of like this highlighter pink, and now it's just about creating the the zones of color. Let's see if we grab our red here and we mix it in with some burnt sienna, maybe we can get some good shadows. Get some good red burnt sienna shadows into the foot. Let's see here. We're gonna come around and we're gonna go like this right down here. Can everybody see? Yeah, I think everybody can see. Alright, it's just going to come up to the tops ever so slightly there. And then, you know what, we can actually build some of the shadow around the side here. So we're going to come around on the calf. And you can actually keep using this color. It's actually a good solid like red shadow color that we could just keep building in. Dark ones are cool too. Cool pigments. Yeah. So let's go around here. By the way, Adler, are you in the U.S.? You don't have to share. I'm just curious if you're in the U.S. Because it is, it's probably pretty late, huh? If you're not in the U.S., then it probably isn't late. But Sunday, though. Sunday, good old Sunday. So we're going to go into this. All right, so just, you know, ever so slightly just building up some of the shadows into the feet here. Just shadow by shadow, just focusing on some of the big areas. And, you know, just with oil painting, I don't know if this is the same for acrylic. But, like, for oil painting, I always have, like, the confidence to know that, you know, at the end of the day, the way oil paint has been painted for centuries is that you're building, right? Oil paint, you're just constantly building layer on top of layer. That's how it was done for the longest time. And, you know, of course, you can always change it, right? Things don't always need to be done the same way forever. But what's cool is that, you know, you do have the knowledge that you don't have to worry about painting in just like 1 or 2 or even 3 sittings. That, you know, even traditionally, paintings have gone on for weeks, months, years in oil, because, you know, you would wait for it to dry, and then you would paint a little bit, and then you would wait for it to dry, and then you would paint over it in a little bit. So, you know, just knowing that has actually, you know, helped me with oil painting, because I know that deep down I have time. I don't need to rush an idea or anything. So let me get this big other foot here. Better clean off this brush. Let's go clean this brush off. I'm gonna work on her other foot. We're gonna take a flat brush. Yeah, oil painting more forgiving. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, oil painting is so forgiving. Like watercolor, not forgiving, right? Watercolor, if you try to layer a color on top of a watercolor, it's only going to be like you can't avoid the bottom color affecting the top color, I think. But if you layer oil paint, you can find a less opaque or more opaque oil paint to go on top, and that's totally going to, affect, you know, allow you to modify. I think the same can be said for acrylic, but also acrylic dries so fast that once you set it down, it's like, all right, either you're gonna set it down and then paint over it, but with oil, you have some time to like push the paint around. You have time. Oil, you have time to work. Acrylic, from my understanding, not so much. Again, never used acrylic, but just from, you know, my guess, if I was working with paint that dried in, like 20 minutes, that's my guess as to what would happen. Is that it'd be really difficult to work with. So let's see, we're gonna add some, let's go down here and we're just gonna add some highlights around this part of the foot right here. A late owl. All right. Good old late night painting shows. Honestly, I've thought about that, just doing like late night streams, but my bedtime's like 10 o'clock. Usually. Not tonight, obviously. I'm on West Coast time. So just keep continuing to build our larger areas of the feet here. Larger areas. The larger blocks of color. Just painting over and making it cohesive. Cohesion, that's the name of the game, Cohesion. I'm sure there's a game named Cohesion. There must be. If there isn't, someone needs to get it, because that'd be a great name for like a puzzle game. Cohesion. Alright, and you know what? Let's brave the toes. Let's add some details into the toes. And for that, let's use an even smaller brush. And then you know what? After this, we're gonna call it a night. I'm actually gonna call it a night so that I can get ready for bed. But let's work on some of these toe details. So we're gonna go with a nice little. That's not a highlight. No, we can actually go with the shadow. We can start with a little shadow. Some shadow colors first, and then work our way into the highlights. So, right down into here. And then let's go. This highlight. And I will say, what I think prepared me for some of the things in this painting is what's it called? The Berg studies. Because if you look at Berg, Bargue, if you look at Berg studies, you could find so many subtle similarities in what Berg was doing and teaching, and what you can find in some of the work of Bouguereau, as far as like the subtle transitions between, and you know, it makes sense because it's the classical, you know, classical academic painting style. So, you know, it makes sense that they would have some similarities, but it's just shocking how many you can find. I mean, maybe it's not that shocking, but there's quite a lot of similarities, is what I'm trying to say. And let's see, let's go around the front of the toe here and capture a pink to capture the toenail. And now let's clean this brush off. So if someone here is not familiar with Berg studies, let me just grab a book. Real quick so everybody can see. Let me just share this example of what I mean about Berg studies and some of the details. What's up, bud? So Berg was a drawing course that came out in like the 1850s. I don't want to get too like historical here, but it was actually the original version of this. So this is just a reprint. It's in a public domain now. You can actually find it for free if you look for it. But public domain, and this company just did a reprint of it. I like having physical copies, so I bought this. But I think the original book is actually is online. But basically, the original idea was that this drawing course was you basically copy the drawings with pencil or graphite, and that was it. Like, how close or how far you were from the original is basically your score, your grading. But more importantly, here's a really fun fact that a lot of people don't know is, if you didn't know, this book, not this book, but, you know, the original Berg drawing course, the original drawing course, was published by Vincent van Gogh's brothers company. So Theo Goupil AC, you know, Vincent van Gogh, his brother Theo, was basically, you know, running a family-started art dealership called Goupil AC, and they were the first publishers of Berg drawing courses. So that's one of my theories as to why Vincent van Gogh spent so much time with Berg drawing, was because he wanted his brother to succeed. He wanted to promote his brother's, basically his company's art gallery. But anyway, looking at some of the similarities, like just right here, right? Look at this mouth, and then look at her mouth. Hers is a little bit more feminine, but you just see like the subtle little groove and all that. These are all totally inspired by Berg. And I know mine's a little different than the original painting, but if you look at the original painting, you could definitely see the influences, just subtle influences about how to draw the shape of a lip and a chin, and, you know, this little gap under the nose. And it's possible that Bouguereau didn't study Berg at all, but I would hazard a guess that he did. Like even this, right? Just these subtle little modifications. If you just compared like these nose drawings to hers, I mean, again, like mine isn't exactly like Bouguereau's, but if you look at Bouguereau's, they're pretty much close to these. And now let's even look a little further. Let's look at these feet. Let's look at some of these feet and compare here. again, these are based on classic academic training. So, it's possible they might have used similar plaster casts to study from or models. So it shouldn't be a surprise, and I'm sure Bouguereau didn't copy exactly. But if you look at, let's look at some of these feet here. Like this foot is actually, reversed. So Bouguereau, did make the step to reverse the feet, but, you could definitely almost see some influences as to how these, like, the toes are positioned. And you might say, well, Bouguereau was a master at, positioning things and, like, doing master studies and drawings. But, they do have the way these feet are positioned and sketched, it has a very, like, classical look to them. From the way the toenails are to the way the toes are positioned and, like, angled. Because honestly, I think toes don't really look like the way that he's drawing them. They actually look quite different. So if he actually drew it from life, I think the toes would look a little different than they did. Whereas they look more like plaster cast studies. But anyway, just a fun fact and theory. And again, maybe Bouguereau didn't take his ideas from Berg. Maybe Bouguereau got his ideas from, another academic training program. But, there are some very close similar. Pookie, stop biting my phone. Pookie, go away. Stop biting my phone. Stop it. Alright. Let's go. I'm gonna grab like a little pinkish white highlight. I'm gonna go the pink white, and we're just gonna capture the highlights of this foot here. So just start to capture some of the highlights here. Might be a little too pink. Let's grab our white here. Yeah, this fleshy tone just isn't working. But it's okay, we can continue to work it later, and we will eventually find the correct color. Go around the toenail here. There we go, do some of this. Pookie, what the heck? Go! Stop biting cables, you doofus. Pookie, psst, psst. Stop. And here we go. We're going to go across the top of the foot here. And add highlights into the top of our toes. Okay, psst. Go. Cats are another creature. You didn't know already. Alright, so we got this last toe right over here. This is some gnarly for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Where this is some gnarly feet. I have no idea how am I gonna separate these nicely? We'll figure that out. Figure that out another day. But let's see. All right, not too bad, not too bad. We're going places. We are going places. Let's go. You know what? We can actually probably work this other foot in the back if we darken the color a little bit. I mean, darken this color, and actually work to the front of the foot here, from the big toe. This. Got to be a little bit darker. Let's see, we're going to come around like this. Start to get the design of our toe here. And, yeah, all right. Let's darken this a bit more. Let's see about going into here. Try to bring in some of the shadow into the rest of the foot here. All right, and there we go. Let's try to find a dark green. I want to find like a dark green here. Let's grab ultramarine. Try to find like a really dark green for a shadow. Mix in some of our red to make it. Mix some of our red because you want a little bit of a mud color at this point. If I'm going into here, red. Ultramarine and this green, hopefully to make a dark, muddy dark color. Just so we can have a shadow underneath the foot here. And that's actually going to be, this actually would be a pretty good color. Let's do it with mineral spirit though. I want to thin it out. I want to thin out this, the amount of, thin out this paint here. I'm just going to go right under the toe. And this is going to come down. down to the front of the toe right there. That'll be good. And let's see, this could go, it's probably going to here too. Pookie, stop biting my phone. How many times do I have to do the TS sound? Alright, God, these feet are not looking good right now. They're looking pretty gnarly. Let's take a break. I'm gonna go, we'll be back another day. But hey, everybody, thanks for being here, Adler. Great to have an art conversation. Nice to hear your thoughts, get your feedback, and have your pep talk even. It's awesome. Every artist needs a pep talk, just like a hey man, keep going. Yeah, you are a master artist. There you go. With that, we're going to pack up our things. Let's wrap up our stuff. Let's take care, and we'll go on, everybody. Call this a good night.